Hi readers, I'm Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I am so happy you're here, and I would love it if you would, as a new viewer, subscribe. And if you are a seasoned viewer or a new viewer, I'd love to hear your feedback and comments on what kinds of videos you would like for me to make. This is an ongoing series that I have created, but I'm open to other ideas for ongoing series as well. So just let me know in the comments below. Let me know a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll talk about these books, and then you can also comment about any of them as you would like. So today's topic is a revisit of my August 2019 book haul. And in this series, I go back over what I hauled last year in the month of the year that it's featured, and I pick one book from that list, at least one book from that list, to add to my current TBR. So we are approaching August, and I'm making my TBR plans now and would like to pick one of these. August of 2019 was a really big haul. It was maybe my last big haul of that year because I was anticipating the Advent Book Exchange. I was getting some feedback from my family about the space that we had for the books that I was acquiring, and we were trying to make some decisions about selling our home or not selling our home, and adding bookshelves and not adding bookshelves. And so here we are a year later. Didn't sell the home, added the bookshelves, and have some room now, but also am just being mindful of how many books are on my shelf that haven't been read. So this series is really an effort to get some of the backlist that I have read. We'll see how I did last year. So let's get started. So in August of every year, we go to the Watermelon Carnival in Water Valley, Mississippi. And this year we are not able to go, so I won't be making my annual pilgrimage to the valley and to those bookstores that I love up there. But I did so last year, and I got quite a few things in Water Valley just on that trip. So of the 9 books that I hauled last August, 7 of them came from that trip. It's a lot. So let's talk about those and what I've read. So the first one was a very used copy of The Last Place by Laura Lippman. I got it at Violet Valley bookstore. And I picked it up because it was on big clearance. I think it was 25 or 50 cents. And because I do love Laura Lippman, so I grabbed it. It's a mystery thriller. Laura Lippman is pretty prolific. This one's set in Baltimore, 5 unsolved homicides, seemingly unconnected except for the link to domestic violence. So Tess accepts an assignment with a local nonprofit to review police documents on each case for inconsistencies and investigative blunders. And then I'm sure some things are unraveled and unveiled, and she's hopefully able to solve this crime. I like Tess as a character. I love Laura Lippman's pacing. Did not get to it. Did not read this one. So there's that as a possibility. Then at Violet Valley, I also picked up 2 editions that I really enjoyed. They're older editions of some classics of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck and The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I had no plan to reread these. These were really more of a collection opportunity for me because they were nice editions of these, and I didn't have them in my library anymore. That's not to say I wouldn't enjoy picking one of them up, especially if they are on my 100 bucket list poster. So that's something to consider. These are modern library classics that were published not so recently. They're not so modern now. Then because Oxford, Mississippi is the home of Square Books, I went to Square Books a couple of times with my partner and my daughter, and Oxford is also the home of William Faulkner, so I grabbed a vintage copy of Absalom, a vintage cover of Absalom. This is the vintage Faulkner publication piece that was published by somebody in the UK, I guess Vintage Classics. Yeah, I love this cover. I've never read Absalom, so that's a possibility. I'm not sure. That might be a good summer read if it's set in the summer, which it may be. So it's about a poor white boy named Sutpin who was turned away from a plantation owner's mansion by a Negro butler, from then on determined to force his way into the upper echelons of Southern society. After the chaos of civil war, secrets from his own past threaten to destroy everything he has worked for. It's not like I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read that. That was, again, more of a collector's piece. I'd like to collect some other Faulkner in that same edition. Maybe. I got Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. This was a gently used copy. I did read this. It is a young adult fantasy, magical realism series. I wasn't thrilled with it, but I did finish it. I felt like it was great, and then it like abruptly ended, but perhaps because there are more in the series. I think she's on number 5 maybe of the Wayward Children series, but this follows a girl named Nancy arrives at the Home for Wayward Children, which is run by Eleanor West, and she discovers that other children who have the same experience that she's had are all sent to this boarding school where they are able to recover from having gone through a doorway into another world and not wanting to return from that other world. So they're longing for that other space, and they're feeling unsettled with their families, and their families don't know how to handle them because they've had this experience that they don't really understand or believe in, and they're sent to live with and learn from Eleanor. And then some things start happening to some of the children. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to finish this series. I'm sort of 2 minds about that. But I mean, I'm glad I read this. I'm glad I got it. I haven't unhauled it. So there's that. Then I also got a copy of Nora Roberts' Blood Magic, which is a French flap deckled edge copy of a trilogy of hers. I love these versions. These are published by Penguin, Berkeley Press, and when I saw it, I thought, well, let me grab this. I have Dark Witch, which is the first one, I think, on Kindle or Nook, and then the second one is Shadow Spell. This is the third one, so I would have to read Shadow Spell before this. I'd like them all 3 in the same edition, as I got the other 3 in the same edition, but also Nora Roberts trilogies are often very predictable and very tropey, and yeah, I mean, it's not like you don't kind of know what's going to happen. So I don't know if I'll pursue 2 other matching in this series or not, but it is something I'd like to finish one day because I did start that first one, and I also started it so long ago I have no memory of it whatsoever. So there's that. Yeah. So I have not read this yet either. I also hauled a hardcover copy of Kate Atkinson's Life After Life. This is one of my favorites. I have read it. I do plan to reread it, but I don't know if I'll do that in August. But I had a paperback copy that I had hauled earlier in 2019, and then I really ultimately wanted a hardback to match God in Ruins, which is right there. So this was just a delightful find, and it was on deep sale, so that was perfect. Then when I got home, this I loved to get from Past Books locally, and it is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and I got to meet her and have this copy signed, so that was fantastic. I did read this. It was one of my favorite books. I read it earlier this year, and oh my gosh, this is such a hard-hitting young adult novel about a girl named Star who witnesses the shooting of her cousin and is embroiled in the truth of what happened as she was there and the truth of what the police are releasing about the incident. And it's so timely right now. It goes through her journey, her parents' journey of supporting her and protecting her, her family dynamics, the dynamics of her town, the equal justice movements, that people are reaching out to her to tell her story, and she's not sure she wants to. And oh my gosh, this is so good. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend it. I do want to pick up on The Come Up this year and not let too long go between the two of them. This was made into a movie. I still have not watched the movie. On The Come Up is also being made into a movie, I think, or already has maybe, and then she's got another release coming out very soon. Angie Thomas is a fantastic storyteller about hard-hitting issues that we all need to really try to understand and comprehend in the fiction space, because we are seeing it play out in our daily lives all the time. And the last one I hauled was actually as a result of learning while I was at Square Books that there is something called Libro.fm, which I talk about a lot, I know, but if you haven't watched my channel before or haven't heard me talk about it, Libro.fm is an Audible service that is not Audible, the company, but it is an audiobook service that allows you to purchase audiobooks while supporting your local bookseller. And so you're able to choose the local bookseller that you want to support, and then whatever you purchase, a part of that purchase goes to them. So that's fantastic. And last year I hauled my first book on Libro FM, which is, I'll pop a photo in it, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, narrated by Ocean Vuong. And it is a debut novel. It's a letter written by a son to an illiterate mother who cannot read the letter. And he unearths a family history that began before he was born in Vietnam. It uncovers some revelations into his mother's life, and it's a discussion on race and class and masculinity, and it is apparently beautifully done, highly recommended, and I haven't read it either. That would be a listen, 7 hours and 18 minutes, so not terribly long. So I have to choose from, I would say, I could reread Of Mice and Men and The Scarlet Letter. I haven't read them in a really long time. I'm not going to choose Blood Magic because that would mean I'd have to read at least one, if not both of the others in that series. Life After Life. I have been wanting to reread that, but I feel like for some reason that would be more of a winter read for me, or a fall read. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm remembering that a lot of that was taking place in it, maybe just because of the subject and the time it was written. It was kind of a cold, dark, deep, horrible, violent time because it's set in World War II. I've read a lot of thrillers lately, so The Last Place would kind of be another mystery thriller, and I've been reading a lot of those. Absalom. It's always hard to choose. So I've done really well with the books I've purchased on Libro.fm. I've read almost all of them, or listened to almost all of them. And this is the first one I ever got, and I never got to it. So that bothers me a little bit. And I'm going to be listening to one I just got, and I'm already currently listening to one I got. I'm going to choose The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and that's weird. That would not have been what I thought I would pick going into this video, but I think I am ready to reread The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I haven't read it since I was a young person, before high school. Classic for sure. It's short, and that's the one that's calling me the most. I think I'm in the mood for a classic. If there's time in August, then I will also listen to On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. It was really like I wanted that one, and also I was sort of craving something else, and so they were kind of tied, and so if I could, I would like to get both of those knocked out, but I will prioritize The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. So if you're not familiar, The Scarlet Letter is a romance, a classic about Hester Prynne. Hester is accused of being an adulteress, and she is tried and treated very badly. It's a discovery about guilt and sin and puritanical ideals, and judgment. And yeah, it's been a long time, so it would be fun to read this through the eyes of an adult Lori, as I was probably 11 or so when I read it the first time, 11 or 12, when I was kind of pouring through the classics at that time of my life. I would like to see how differently I view it now as an adult. Yeah, so that's it. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne and possibly On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, which sounds fantastic too. So I hope I get to both of them. We'll see. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining me today on this revisit of a fairly large book haul from last August. Let me know what you're planning to read in the month of August and how you're handling your backlist or your book hauls from the last few months or years, and what you do to determine what you're going to read next. I am always fascinated by people's processes because mine has evolved a bit this year, and my hauls, while I wanted them to be fewer this year, I had kind of a burst of books that I purchased right as we got these shelves done, and then now I'm kind of trying to stay within a reasonable number and a budget. I'm kind of really looking at that too. So if I set myself a book budget, then I'm typically less likely to overbuy. So that's been an exploration I've been on for the last couple of months. So we'll see how I do. Thanks again, and as always, happy reading. Bye.